In this episode, we're going to get grounded in what the AAIR certification is really about by starting with a simple idea that often gets lost. AI risk is not a mysterious new kind of risk, but it is a very modern way for familiar harms to show up in surprising places. When people first hear the words AI risk, they often picture a runaway robot, a dramatic hack, or a science fiction failure that feels far away from daily work. In real organizations, the problems usually look much more ordinary and therefore more dangerous because they blend into normal decisions, normal tools, and normal pressure to move fast. A company adds an AI feature to save time, an employee uses a public tool to write a report, a vendor promises a magic solution, or a manager trusts an output because it sounds confident. By the end of our time together today, you should be able to explain, in plain language, what AI risk means at work, why it matters even in calm and well-run organizations, and what it means to manage it in a way leaders can actually use. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.Author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. The first step is to separate the word AI from the word risk so you can understand both parts clearly. Artificial intelligence, AI, is a broad label for systems that can produce outputs that feel intelligent, like predictions, classifications, recommendations, generated text, or synthesized images, based on patterns learned from data. Risk is the possibility that something will go wrong in a way that causes harm, and that harm can include money lost, people hurt, trust damaged, legal trouble, or the organization's mission disrupted. Put them together and AI risk becomes the possibility that an AI system, or the way people use it, causes harm or increases the chance of harm. That sounds simple, but there is an important twist. AI systems can fail in ways that are hard to notice and hard to explain, even when nobody is trying to do anything wrong. A risk program for AI is basically a way of bringing visibility, accountability, and decision discipline to something that would otherwise be treated like a magic box. A good way to make AI risk feel real is to think about how decisions happen inside an organization. Every day, people decide who gets access, who gets support, which customer gets flagged for fraud, which resume gets reviewed, which email gets prioritized, which ticket gets escalated, and which patient gets extra attention. AI shows up by influencing those decisions, sometimes directly and sometimes quietly in the background. When AI is involved, the organization may move faster, but it may also accept new uncertainty about whether the decision is correct, fair, safe, or defensible. That uncertainty is where risk lives, and it becomes more serious when the decision has high impact. The key point is that AI risk is not only about the AI system itself. It is about the decision being made, who is affected, what can go wrong, and whether the organization can detect and correct problems before they turn into harm. Beginners often assume AI risk is basically the same as cybersecurity risk, meaning it is mostly about attackers breaking into systems. Security threats matter, but AI risk is broader than that, and you will do better on AAIR thinking if you widen your lens early. AI can create harm even without a breach, simply through error, misleading output, biased patterns, or unintended use. An AI system can be perfectly locked down and still be wrong in a way that hurts people or the business. It can also be right on average, but wrong in a way that concentrates harm on a specific group or a specific rare situation. The risk story also includes reputation, compliance, safety, and operational reliability, not just confidentiality and hacking. So when you hear AI risk, think of a complete picture that includes how the system is built, how it is used, who relies on it, and what happens when it is wrong. Another easy misunderstanding is thinking AI risk only applies when an organization builds its own AI models from scratch. In reality, many organizations create AI risk simply by buying a tool, enabling a feature, or allowing employees to use public services. A customer service platform might add an AI summarizer, a document platform might add an AI assistant, or a security product might add AI-based prioritization. Even if your organization never trains a model, it still has to manage how AI influences decisions and data. Employees can also create risk through casual use, like pasting sensitive information into a public service or using a generated output without checking it. Vendors can create risk through overpromising, unclear limitations, or hidden dependencies. In other words, AI risk is as much about adoption and behavior as it is about engineering. To manage AI risk, you need a clear sense of what kinds of things can go wrong. One category is accuracy risk, where the system produces wrong outputs, incomplete outputs, or outputs that look correct but are not. Another category is fairness risk, where the system treats people differently in ways that are unjustified or illegal, often because of patterns in data that reflect historical imbalance. Another category is explainability and transparency risk, where the organization cannot clearly explain why a decision happened, which becomes a major issue when customers, regulators, auditors, or internal leaders demand answers. Another category is privacy and data risk, where data is used in ways that violate expectations, policy, or law, even if nobody intended harm. Another category is misuse risk, where people use the system for a purpose it was not designed for, or trust it beyond its proven capability. You do not need to memorize labels right now, but you do need to feel how varied the failure modes are compared to traditional software. You also need to understand what makes AI different from normal software in ways that affect risk. Traditional software usually follows explicit rules written by developers, so if it fails, you can often point to a specific logic path and fix it. Many AI systems rely on patterns learned from data, which means the behavior is shaped by the data and training process, not just by code. That makes outcomes less predictable, especially when the real world changes over time. It also means a system can appear to work well in testing, but behave differently when exposed to new situations, new users, or new inputs. Some AI systems also produce outputs that are not strictly true or false, but are instead plausible sounding, which can trick humans into overtrusting them. So AI risk management is partly about managing uncertainty and human trust, not just managing defects. Because this is an orientation episode, it helps to connect AI risk to a few everyday work scenarios without turning it into a technical lecture. Imagine an AI tool that drafts performance feedback for managers. The risk is that it may produce biased language, expose private information, or encourage cookie-cutter evaluations that harm morale and fairness. Imagine an AI feature that recommends which customer complaints to escalate. The risk is that it may miss a rare but serious safety issue because it learned that most complaints are minor. Imagine an AI summarizer that condenses legal contracts. The risk is that it might omit a critical obligation and cause a business commitment to be misunderstood. Imagine an AI tool used in recruiting. The risk is that it might filter resumes in a way that reduces diversity or violates regulations, even if nobody intended that outcome. These examples show that AI risk is deeply connected to business processes and human impact, not just to computer systems. A key concept for brand new learners is that risk is not the same as an incident, and managing risk is not the same as preventing all problems. Risk exists before anything bad happens, and good risk management is about understanding likelihood and impact, deciding what level of risk is acceptable, and putting controls in place to keep risk within boundaries. Sometimes the best decision is to change how AI is used, limit it to low-impact tasks, or require human review for high-impact outcomes. Sometimes the best decision is to invest in better data, better monitoring, or clearer documentation. Sometimes the best decision is to say no to an AI use case that cannot be made safe enough or defensible enough. An organization that tries to eliminate every risk will freeze, but an organization that ignores AI risk will eventually get surprised in a way that hurts. The practical goal is to make risk visible and manageable, so leaders can make deliberate choices instead of accidental ones. It is also important to notice how AI risk shows up across the entire life cycle of a system, not just at the moment of use. Risk can begin when a problem is defined poorly, like asking an AI system to predict something vague or subjective without clear success criteria. Risk can enter through data, such as training data that is incomplete, outdated, or loaded with hidden bias. Risk can grow during deployment when the system is placed into a process without clear ownership or without clear guidance on when humans should intervene. Risk can increase over time when the environment changes, users adapt their behavior, or the system encounters new kinds of inputs. Risk can even be created by lack of documentation, because when something goes wrong, the organization cannot show what it did, why it did it, or how it monitored it. Thinking lifecycle first will help you later when you learn how programs, governance, and assessment methods fit together. Human behavior deserves special attention because AI systems do not operate in a vacuum. People can treat AI outputs as suggestions, or they can treat them as authority, and that choice changes the risk dramatically. A confident-looking answer can cause someone to stop thinking critically, especially when they are tired, rushed, or under pressure from leadership. People can also use AI as a shield, saying the system told them what to do, which blurs accountability. On the other side, people can ignore AI warnings if they do not trust the system, which creates a different kind of risk where valuable signals are wasted. Managing AI risk means shaping how humans interact with AI, setting expectations, and creating rules for when a human must verify, override, or escalate. In simple terms, you are not just managing a model. You are managing a relationship between humans and automated judgment. Another beginner-friendly way to understand AI risk is to think about trust as something that must be earned and maintained. Trust is not a feeling. It is a decision to rely on something, and reliance should match evidence. When organizations adopt AI quickly, they often create trust without enough evidence, which is like building a bridge and allowing traffic before you have tested its weight limits. Evidence can include how the system was evaluated, what data it used, what limitations were found, and what monitoring is in place. Trust also depends on context. A spelling suggestion tool can be trusted for low-impact tasks, while an AI system influencing safety or legal decisions needs far stronger evidence and tighter controls. Trust must also be revisited because systems and environments change. If you take away one mindset today, it is that managing AI risk is largely about managing justified trust over time. Now let's connect this back to what AAIR means at work, because the certification is not about becoming a model builder or an algorithm expert. It is about being able to recognize AI risk in real business settings, communicate it in a way decision-makers understand, and help establish practices that keep risk within acceptable limits. That includes understanding the kinds of harms that matter to organizations, understanding how governance and accountability reduce confusion, and understanding how consistent assessment and documentation reduce surprises. It also includes knowing that AI risk is shared across roles, from business owners to technical teams to compliance functions, and that unclear ownership is itself a risk. A strong AAIR mindset looks for where AI is influencing outcomes, asks what could go wrong, and then turns that into concrete decisions about boundaries, oversight, and evidence. As you move forward in this course, you will see that AI risk management is a blend of practical thinking and disciplined process. Practical thinking means you can look at a proposed AI use case and quickly spot where harm could occur, what assumptions are being made, and what controls might reduce risk. Disciplined process means you have consistent ways to inventory AI uses, classify impact, assess risk, set accountability, monitor performance, and report issues before they become crises. It also means you can speak both languages, the language of business value and the language of risk and control. For a brand new learner, it is okay if that sounds big, because we will build it step by step. The main point today is that AI risk is real. It is already in normal work, and it can be managed with clear thinking rather than fear or hype. To close, bring everything back to a simple, usable definition you can say out loud. AI risk is the chance that an AI system, or the way people use it, leads to harmful outcomes for people, the organization, or society, especially when the system is trusted beyond what evidence supports. That definition keeps you focused on outcomes instead of buzzwords, and it keeps you focused on the full system, including humans, data, vendors, and decisions. As a new student, you do not need to be intimidated by the technology because the heart of the job is careful reasoning and responsible decision-making. You also do not need to assume every AI use is dangerous because many uses are low impact and can be managed with simple boundaries. What you do need is a habit of asking where AI touches decisions, what could go wrong, and what evidence and oversight would make that reliance defensible. That mindset is the foundation for everything else we will build in this series.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.